Hello, and welcome to my channel. Today, I have a little bit of a different intro because this is a little bit of a different video. Today, I will be figure drawing. I'm talking about things that I do to better myself as an artist. And the place that I like to get my poses is this quickposes.com. And now this is all free, but you can become a patron or buy them a coffee, donate money to keep things like this running. And now I just am going to do random poses, all different kinds of poses, all genders and all kinds of clothing. And so I'm going to do a few rounds of these, and I am going to do some on plain paper with just pencil, and I have my toned gray paper here as well, and I'm going to be doing some in charcoal. So I'm going to get this set up and we'll get started. So I am about to show you the supplies I use. So this is my pencil case, kind of my everyday pencil case. I will be using this little eraser, a pencil, just kind of a plain pencil. I have a couple mechanical pencils here too. I don't think I end up using them because I like the freeness of using just the plain pencil, and I have a kneaded eraser, and I have it's a pencil sharpener. That's the word. And I am doing 10 poses in 90 seconds for each one. So it will automatically change the poses. And what I love about figure drawing is it's fast and loose. You're not supposed to try to make it perfect. You only have so many seconds, and the idea is just to capture the essence of the pose. And this is a really great way to work on movement, to work on proportions, because I find that I improve faster when I'm not trying to be perfect. When I am kind of just letting loose with everything and sketching very freely, trying to keep it not so tight and perfect, is when I get better, actually. So I do occasionally catch myself starting details too early, and I have, kind of have to remind myself, no, get the basic pose down, get the basic shapes down first, and then you can go back in later. And now the cool thing about this website, quickposes.com, is that you can actually create your own little free account, and it will keep track of the poses and stuff you do. So I could actually save these images then to come back and reference later. So say you do a figure drawing session and you really liked some of the pictures that you used. Well, you can actually save them at the end of the session and come back and use them again. And I really liked that. It was really, really convenient for me. And as you can see, they're not perfect. This one was the hardest probably for me because there's a lot of, I think it's foreshortening. His hand looks huge because it's closer to the camera than that one foot is. So it was really hard for me to wrap my brain around this pose. And the thing is, I just had to remind myself that I only have 90 seconds. It's not going to be perfect, and I just need to get it down and move on. You can hit pause. You only have 5 minutes once you hit pause to come back before it ends your session automatically. Because I know I had to, because I had right there, it kind of skips a little bit because I had a cat bump my setup, so everything shook and I had to go shoo him away. Anyway, so there's this pose too. So obviously with quick poses, I don't intend my channel to ever be for children. It's not for children. I like to think of it for people, maybe teenagers and young adults who are like me, who maybe aren't the best artists, and but just are trying to improve and like to have fun with it. And so quick poses, yes, you can have nudity or none. You can have all nudity, no nudity, anything you want. I had it set to all, so obviously I have this one. The man is fully clothed. Honestly, the only thing you can see is his face and his hand, and I really liked this one, for when there's no body. You don't need to try to sketch out the body that's underneath the clothes. You can't see it. You just sketch what you see. and it's great. But anyways, so yes, he's in obviously like a costume. You'll get some of them that are in like fun clothes, and you'll get some that are in kind of normal people clothes. You'll get some like that one girl, she was in, had these weird wings on, and her body was just wrapped in like scraps of fabric. And then like some of the other ones, you'll have people who are completely naked. So yeah, I don't get to choose. You can obviously, if you're not comfortable with nudity, you can not do that, or you can only do nudity if that's what you want. But anyway, this guy was like my favorite. I loved these pants and I really liked this pose, so I had a great time with him. And it was, yeah, no, I was really proud of myself for this session. I haven't figure drawn like this in quite a while, so I was really nervous that for this video it was going to suck. I'm quite proud of the way these turned out. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of time. You know, you only have seconds, and it goes fast. It really does. I usually do the minute, but I wanted these to, you guys to be able to actually tell what it is I was trying to sketch, and not, because when I do the minute, they're not as pretty because there's so much less detail, and I wanted you guys to be able to see how what I was drawing matched the pose. So this woman was very thin, and now I don't usually draw super thin characters. I'm not thin myself, and so I did have trouble trying to get the angles right, and that's definitely my biggest like advice for this is look at the big picture first. Don't focus on anything, and get the angles down first. So like my sketch part does not look, she's not at the right angle as this woman is, so that is something I would need to work on for next time. And I flipped the page, and here we have this guy, which was really hard because you can see a lot of, you know, where his shoulder is brought back, there's like wrinkles in the skin, and you can see muscles and ribs, and the human body just really isn't as smooth as a lot of people like to draw it, and myself included. So it was kind of hard and interesting to have to try to wrap your brain around that while not getting too detailed, and like I said, it is hard, but it is definitely worth it. And I have found that the more that I figure draw, the faster I do improve, which is what this is about. It's not always about doing things that are super fun when you're trying to improve, but it's about doing things that just help your brain see the world, you know, because people process shapes differently in their, you know, like the way your brain wraps around the contours of the body when you're trying to draw it is different. And you're really, when you're practicing, you're training your brain to see things in a different way, so that way you can draw them. Now this girl, she had a little nip slip happening, so I did go and edit it and blurred that out because I'm not dealing with that. So yeah, anyway, so this one was fun. And then I noticed at the end, I was like, I exaggerated proportions in her neck and stuff, which is more stylized than the image. And so that I was like, well, shoot, next time I have to try to, make sure I don't do that. And this was probably my hardest one. He's not moving a lot, so it's really hard to try to get the proportions down. And I had to blur out his thing because it was there for everybody to see, and that's not something I was going to draw or show everybody else. But yeah, so anyway, I have my final thoughts coming up here in a couple seconds, and moving on to the next thing that I do. So I'm finishing it up, and there you go. 10 of these with 90 seconds each. Okay, so now that is done, I am actually feeling pretty good about these sets. I've done this before in the past, and sometimes it can feel a little rough. My advice is push through it. This actually is really helpful, and the goal is not to make them look exact, but to just kind of capture the pose, and it really does help. So it sucks. It's not necessarily the funnest thing to do, but it's definitely very, very interesting. So I'm not sure yet. I haven't edited this yet, obviously, I'm talking, but I am not sure whether I will leave it to full speed. But if I don't, there was 10 of them and they were 90 seconds each, a little bit longer. I usually do a minute, but not gonna lie, I'm not sure. I think maybe somewhere between a minute and the 90 seconds, because sometimes the 90 seconds felt a bit long, but other times it did feel a little short. But anyway, so now I'm going to move on to a different kind of study, and this is going to be a bit of a quick charcoal portrait study. So I did these in college, and I might put some images in, and I had a lot of fun with these. Working in charcoal, I think it's very loose. I really like that feeling. It's not so harsh, so I definitely recommend that. And for the portrait, if you are following along, I recommend making sure you have a portrait that has dramatic lighting, and if you can, put it in black and white. So here is the image that I am using, and I found it on Pinterest. I looked up dramatic lighting portrait, and you can find a whole bunch of them. And then I turned it into black and white, so hopefully this will go well. I am just using so these are like Willow charcoal pieces. You can actually buy them at Walmart. They're really cheap, a few bucks each maybe, and I've got a variety of sizes here. I've got large pieces, medium pieces, really tiny pieces. You will get messy. Like, this is an eraser. Oh goodness, that piece is gonna be stuck to it. There you go. This is a kneaded eraser from my time in college. And as you can see, it is pitch black. This was the color it started as, so yeah. It's a little dirty. I should probably just throw it out because it's also hard as a rock. So I will be using that. I also have here, I can't remember what this is called, but it is like really, really dark black. I think maybe it's more of a pastel. It's really a lot darker than the charcoal. And then I also have here some charcoal pencils, but you can't quite, that one's, they're kind of busted, but I have some white charcoal as well. And this is a charcoal pencil. So I have some of those to work with. All of these particular supplies I got at BLICK, so you can find them online. I'll link it below. And yeah, so I am going to get started. So one thing I did learn in college, this will be very messy, it's very freeing. One thing that I always learned was to lay down like a tone first, which I get it, this is a toned gray paper, but it's more for, I don't know, I feel like too, it's a really good way to like not be afraid of the paper, because I feel like sometimes when I'm going to do something, I'm afraid of making marks. I'm afraid of messing up and stuff, but you don't really want to be afraid. So like just laying down a whole bunch of it makes me feel very, very unafraid to just dive in, and it feels very, it's very good. I missed this. This is actually why I wanted to do this today, and I just have felt that I need to practice more a little bit, and so that is why I am doing a video about how the things I do when I am feeling that I need to work on improvement. So I know if people ask, other big artists, what is something that you can do to get better, and they're always, draw from real life. And while, it's something that I have put off, I think it really is valuable. And so I highly recommend it. And you don't even need, like I said, these charcoals, like, I don't know, you might feel like some fancy artist, whatever, doing them, but like they're really common and you can find them anywhere really. And they're cheap. And you don't even have to use a toned gray. You can use a white paper too. Just make sure it's a little smoother. You don't want it to be as textured as this other paper I was using was mixed media. And that is a little too dark. So then the goal of charcoal, first and foremost, is to make sure you start really loose. Like, we don't want any, like, even this is probably too detailed. You want to start as vague as you can. I like to think of it a little bit as almost like carving first. Like, you're carving the face out of the gray, you know? Like, you want to chip away at the pieces, you know, highlight and push back different pieces to show where the highlights and the dark is. So, yeah. I don't usually talk a whole lot while I'm drawing, so it is a bit different for me as well to be talking, but I think it's good to see things in real time. And I know this isn't going to be my best artwork. I'm rusty right now, especially I've been doing digital quite a bit. So I'm going to be rusty in that sense, and I'm going to be rusty in the sense that I haven't done realism or charcoal in a long time. And I think it's good for people to see other people learning, because I feel like if I had seen people and what they do to learn, I wouldn't have felt so like I was bad. In reality, I wasn't bad. I was just learning, and so is everybody else. So okay, I am going to let my music take over and start speeding this up. Psych, I'm actually going to voice over too. So first off, listening back to when I was trying to talk and draw, I realize that I am not very articulate when I'm trying to multitask. So I did want to say that I mentioned that I like to think of this as carving, you know, to carving out the darks and like highlighting the lighter parts, you know, erasing out the dark to create the light. And I'd mentioned that I'm like, yeah, it's like a statue, you know, like I was listening to that. I cannot fucking talk, can I? But anyway, I was taught this in my college class and stuff. And like I said, I had a great time with these. I actually realized how much I loved charcoal. I used to always like fuck around with it as a kid because it was always given to me in like little art kits and stuff, but I had never really known how to use it. And so I actually, like I said, I really enjoyed it. And I am going to flash here across the screen some of my works because I really just feel like this one, like I said, I'm a couple years out of that phase, and I feel like that this one does not do my past self justice when I was in the prime of my charcoal days. So I have like self-portraits, and they're mostly portraits. One is a self-portrait, one is a portrait of my husband, and I don't know what other ones I'm gonna hunt down to put pictures in because I haven't found them yet. But anyway, I blow away the little pieces of charcoal. Like I said, it's messy. It's very messy. It got all the way on my hand, up my arm, all over the desk, all over the keyboard, all over everything. But it is a great time. So, list of things that I do when I feel like I need to improve. 1, figure drawing. So it can be called figure drawing, gesture drawing, relatively the same thing. Just looking at poses and images of the human body in different poses, in different outfits, in different ways, and drawing them as you see it, quick and fluid. Okay? Very great at getting motion down and proportions. Next, portraits. So you can also do these in pencil, and I would recommend doing something kind of similar. Maybe starting on a toned gray paper, or kind of lightly shade the paper, erase away where you want lighter pieces, start shading where you want darker pieces. Now, the darker parts where you want to push it back. I would definitely recommend purchasing like different kinds of pencils, because so you have like really hard pencils, and so they show up really light. Then you have very dark pencils, like they're very soft, and so they show up dark. And so it's like HB is like your middle, and then however, like whatever number in H is harder, and so it has like 1H is not as hard as like 5H. And then same with the B's, the B is the softer side. So like I have used like a 6B pencil and stuff, like those are really nice. They're harder to erase, but they're really nice. So you'd start sketching in a lighter pencil, so one of the H's, so that way you can keep your sketch light first before you go in with the heavy. So yes, so portrait studies, that is really great at, you know, like showing your brain how light hits the planes of the face. So, you know, here in the picture, there is like the center of her face is what is highlighted. The two sides are dark, and there I have like this harsh black line down the side of her face, and that is where the shadow is the darkest. And you can see there's different parts down, you know, her neck and stuff that are darker, and I erase out the lighter parts. And so like that, you can just really see where her nose is curving, where her chin is curving, where do her cheekbones sit, because you can see where it's shaded. So I think it's a really great exercise. I know it jumped a little bit. I had to make sure I was trying to get proportions right, because when you're looking at something flat down, you know, you guys had a better view than I did, and so I had to tip it up a little bit, make sure I was getting proportions relatively correct. So yeah, so for her eyes, they were kind of closed because her head was kind of tilted back a little bit, like tilted up. And so I started with just filling them in dark, and then I erased out the whites of her eyes and stuff. So I like that technique. The next thing that I think is really great when it comes to things that you can do to learn is, I noticed that for me, I took a painting class, and now you don't have to have taken the class to get this experience. I took a painting class, and the thing that we painted the most was just still lifes. And we would paint, like my professor just would drape fabric over furniture, and we would just look at the way the fabric laid, and we'd paint it as we saw it. He'd have a light shining so we could see the brightness of the rounded part of the fold closer to the light. I highly, highly, highly recommend that as well. Still lifes are really great to practice, really, and that'll make you better than at being able to read figures as well, because you're kind of flexing those muscles of drawing what you see. Like, can you do that? And the more you practice, obviously the better you're going to get. I do urge you to be patient, because I am 22, almost 23, and I have been drawing my entire life, and I'm still not the best. In fact, I can think of many, many, many other artists who are significantly better than me, and even some who've been doing art for less time. Everybody is on a different track in their art journey, and everybody, you know, some people just, they're quick, they pick it up, or maybe they log hours and hours and hours of practice. It really comes down to that. And so I urge you to be patient, and if you feel frustrated in the things that you are creating and you feel like they're just not looking the way you want them to, I promise practicing will make it better. And you might not be able to see it at first. So that is where if you hadn't noticed on this channel, I do redraws a lot. And that's because I do redraws when I'm feeling like I am not improving. I do a redraw to show myself that I am improving. Just because I don't see it from yesterday to today does not mean that from 5 months ago to today I didn't improve, or from 5 years ago to today I didn't improve, because I did. It's just harder to see every day. So yes, my little inspirational rant on art. Back to this piece a little bit. So I do get very frustrated. I have never drawn the nose at such an upward angle, and I actually quite avoid drawing harsh lines in the nose. So to see so much of her nostrils just made me frustrated, because you can see her nostrils very clearly in the picture, but I just didn't like looking at nostrils. I just don't like dry nostrils. So the nose was a very frustrating part of it for me, as well as her mouth was quite a frustrating thing for me as well. And I know that those portraits that you saw at the beginning, when I showed you the ones from how many years ago, I need you to understand that I sunk hours and hours and hours into those pieces. Those were not things that happened overnight or like sat down in one class period. I sketched this in an hour. So yeah, and honestly, you can do fast or slow ones as well. You know, just sitting down and not letting yourself do this for more than an hour is great practice. It's similar to the figure studies. You know, you're trying to get just the gist of it quickly down, you know, the highlights and the lowlights and the general structure of the face down without doing details. That's okay. And that is helpful as well. We did that in class too. My professor printed off a bunch of black and white portraits of kind of famous people and whatever. And we only had like half an hour to quickly get that done before we traded pictures, and it was a fun time. I did Frida Kahlo. That's one I remember doing. It turned out pretty okay, I thought, especially since I was really, really nervous about it. But anyway, those classes were fun, and they were a long time. But yes, if you can ever take classes, obviously they are immensely helpful. It's nice sometimes to have guided class. You know, you feel like you don't have to, it's hard to self-direct is pretty much what I'm trying to say. So if you get the opportunity to take a class, I do recommend it. It can be so much fun. And if you cannot take a class, never fear. You can do it all yourself. There are tons of resources. Obviously, you're watching one right now. Tons of resources on how to better yourself and things you can do. There's, you know, places like Quick Poses. There's places like Skillshare. Obviously, Pinterest, YouTube, even TikTok, for crying out loud. You can find a lot of things. Highly recommend looking through things. That's my Pinterest board I have one for inspiration and one for drawing tips. I have literally thousands of pins on them because I've been pinning things to them for years and years and years. So I think it might, back to the piece a bit, might be a little confusing. I was like, I can't remember what exactly this was. And I was like, it might be a pastel. And I'm like, yeah, a pastel, not it is pastel. Pastel as in like it is, that is what it is. And it is just way more pigmented than the charcoal. And so it's really great for super, super, super dark areas because the charcoal just will never get as dark as this pastel can get. The charcoal pencils can get pretty dark as well. But you know, the darker it is, the harder it is to erase. So you have to be pretty sure about where it is that you want to put the dark before you put it down, because once you put it down, it will never erase back as light as it was before. It's kind of like a stain almost. So anyway, that is my tips on how to get better. They're not the fun ones. The fun ones are just kind of draw whenever it is you can, because the thing is, if you cannot bring yourself to do this because it is boring sometimes, you can get better by just doing it. Just do it. Don't put it off drawing. Draw a little bit every day. Draw whenever you can. Just do it. Draw whatever makes you happy, because you'll improve at that as well. You know, the more you draw eyes, the better at eyes you'll be, even if you weren't using references and stuff. So the better at your version of eyes you'll be, you know? That's the fun one. And the other fun one is one that I want to try as well. I really want to try doing the movie ones where you take a screenshot of a movie and then you like redraw that screenshot. I want to do that so bad. I thought it'd be very fun. I almost did that for this video, but then I was like, nah, that would spook me a little bit. I thought I'd stick with something that I've done before. So screenshots, studies from real life, like go outside and do that. It's great. It can be very fun if you kind of change, I don't want to say like change your mindset, but it's kind of all about how you approach it. If you think of it as a big fat chore and something that is annoying and hard and you're not good at it, that's exactly how it'll feel. And that's not necessarily how we want it to feel. We want to see the progress and we want to feel good about it. So, and yeah, like I said, advice, don't think too hard about it, and don't compare yourself to other people, because that is how you fall down a rabbit hole of thinking that you're not as good. And that's just not true. You can be as good. Maybe you're not as good right that second, but that doesn't help you. That doesn't do anything for you. So, yes. Sometimes it is fun to be on Instagram looking at all the artists and seeing how great they are. And sometimes it's inspiring. Sometimes it is disheartening. So if it feels disheartening, get off. Don't look at social media then. Do some real life studies. Just sketch whatever it is that makes you happy and call it a day. So yes, here I am. That little thing is used to sharpen the pencil, and I got some on there and I just left it because I knew if I swiped it away it would make it worse. So I am adding some of the finishing touches. I used my white charcoal pencil to add in the really bright lights. I use this fairly sparingly usually. I use it a little more in this piece because I'm not using a white paper, so I couldn't erase things away as light as I wanted to. And like I said, definitely not my best work, but it felt really great to do this again, and I cannot wait to do some more. So I am, like I said, adding some finishing touches with the white, and I am gonna let this play for a little bit, and you will hear my final thoughts in literally a minute. So there we have it. She is done. She is not perfect by any means whatsoever. In fact, I think I will be doing this more often for myself because I need the practice. And there is our completed artworks from today. And I cannot wait to do some more practice with you guys. Bye.